Welcome back. Mousesports versus Vitality. First map, a little bit underwhelming, but understandably so. Very technical affair on overpass, and Mousesports just haven't had the time to really get that all together and be ready for a team like Vitality, who've been established for quite a while now. We've had 4 or 5 months and a few tournaments under their belt, especially the Major as well. We go on to Mirage next, which is a great map for these sort of teams. Everyone knows how to play. It's very cookie cutter in that sense. Very similar strategies and approaches from pretty much every team. There's not that much you can do with it in terms of innovation. So I feel like Mousesports can make much more of a dent in this one. As you guys mentioned in the pre-game, this is where Mousesports really made a name for themselves. Could you maybe elaborate on that, James? What were they so good at?
I think they were. I think that the kind of players they had and the style they had lended itself very well to Mirage. I think it's the right kind of open map for the players they had with Oscar around connector. The thing is, when he was on around connector, he was absolutely savage and he could win the game in that position. But sometimes if he wasn't able to do something against a stronger team, then there was a lack of a solution. And I think where Carrigan can come in as a captain.
Yeah.
Obviously, if we go back long, like the TSM days when he used to be on the AWP a lot more, playing the Face It leagues, the precursor to ECS, they were absolute savages in that situation as well. So I think he's going to be extremely comfortable on Mirage. I think that in the short term, he'll be able to build something good for a good map of Counter-Strike here, even though it's a new roster.
Carrigan's an interesting one, Dan. Like, he seems to be very good at establishing teams, but not taking them to the absolute god tier that they're looking for. He seems like he can get a system implemented and then he'll be removed and go on to another project. For me, that's not necessarily a bad thing. That's a very good business model for himself. Lots of money to be made in that sense. Lots of teams want him. Yep. His fragging ability maybe not up there with some of the more renowned in-game leaders. But what do you think he brings to a team that's so valuable at this point?
Well, firstly as well, just on that point, so far that's been the conclusion. That's been what he's been able to accomplish with teams.
Yeah.
I don't think there is necessarily. I don't think we can necessarily draw from that he won't find a team and actually get over that hump like that. Because I think that's obviously how he's been branded just historically. Mousesports, maybe this could be the team for him. I think that the interesting thing here is that unlike some of the other teams, he has Chris J, who was with the Mousesports team previously and actually found a lot of success. And I think working together, they could actually accomplish quite a lot in understanding like how to run some of these maps. So I'm hoping that Chris J and Carrigan can work together to sort of level each other up in that sense and the overall approach for the team. And as far as individually what he'll bring to this team, I'm not sure really, because it is kind of like FaZe a little bit. Because if you look at the entire squad, you've got 4 other players who are ridiculous.
Well, they were always renowned as like the baby phase, right? In terms of like they were an international squad, lots of talent, but not maybe the same results the FaZe were getting. But towards the mid stages of 2018, they lifted a few trophies. They turned some heads there. It just wasn't ever fully realized. It seemed like it'd be a flash in the pan for a month and they'd disappear, crash out of major qualifiers, etc., and look a little bit disappointing overall. It seemed like it was a very turbulent journey for them, and maybe that's why they made changes. They needed the fresh start. I feel like Chris J needed a bit of backup tactically, and I think you make a very good point. Those two together, Chris J and Carrigan, could be quite an interesting mix when they have a bit more time. The problem is they don't have that right now. They've got to play Mirage against a very established team. Hopefully they can have enough there in terms of individual form to get them through it. I think Dust 2, they would actually have the edge. I feel like Voxic and the way Rops is playing right now, it could be enough. I feel like Dust 2 could be theirs.
Yeah, I think that long-term, a map like Mirage, it'll be very interesting once these new players know how to play with each other, because it's all good having a player that's as strong as Voxic with an AWP to replace Oscar, but I think that there was a lot of synergy for Mousesports. While some of the mid-round, late-round may have been problematic for them, player-wise, there was a lot of synergy. The Oscar and Rops combination, they were capable of doing some very insane things, like the 2 versus 5 that they did a long time ago on Train.
Yeah.
But I think that's one thing for the long term. I think in the short term, obviously, the firepower is there, but the long term could be very potentially dangerous for a map such as Mirage.
Moving on to Vitality a little bit more, Dan. ZywOo had so much hype around him as an individual, and we've certainly seen some great moments from him, great LAN performances as well. Do you think he's lived up to expectations generally so far from all the hype that was there beforehand?
I think so, yeah. And I think we just saw that too. I think although Apex got off to a good start, got these frags, we saw consistently across a variety of very difficult situations. ZywOo was an absolute rock like on that A-bomb site and also rotating in to deal with any situation. His AWP has so much stability to it, and so it's so reliable. And at the same time, if you give him an AK and shove him in some kind of a clutch, he's going to deliver something because he has a crazy peak.
I think that really separates the good AWPers from the world-class AWPers. If they have a rifle, they can fall back on and be an impactful player as well. That's the difference maker for me. Like one example that really comes to mind, I guess more of an infamous one, JDM, for example, had a very strong AWP, but his rifling was notoriously a little bit weaker compared to his teammates. So if they found themselves in a situation where he couldn't get it, it felt like the team really dropped a little bit of their level. But Zywoo with a rifle, if he gets an AK, he's still going to be the best player in your team, which is kind of scary almost. You've got an AWPer that can be the best and the rifler as well. He's not bad at pistols too, so I'm very excited.
Perhaps?
Sorry?
The simple of France,
potentially, yeah. Like, remember, this is his rookie year as well. Like, this kid has not got 5 years of experience under his belt. This is his first year being proper professional with the salary. He was at school and kind of towing the line between a hobbyist and a pro player before that. So I think he's got a very bright future ahead of him. Whether it's this team, I'm not so sure, but he's definitely got himself in a promising spot. You call him Zywoo, James. You've got to be a big fan, right? You've got to.
I look forward to a long and storied career. I respect just finishing off the academic stuff beforehand. There's no rush in that respect. So I think that's really good, and it's nice to have a strong base. Keep the parents happy.
Yeah.
Look, we got the grades and stuff. Now let's go to real life.
Yeah.
Where those aren't necessarily needed.
I got asked,
play some Counter-Strike.
I got asked this in an interview the other day, and I was trying to work out what the correct response would be. If you're a player like that, like Zywoo, someone who has got a lot of interest around you, and you've got a lot of opportunities and big paychecks offered to you, you're halfway through, let's say, university, and I would say you have to take it on a case-by-case basis. I would not recommend people to drop out of school to go full-time pro player just because they think they're good enough. If you've got the opportunity to say your first year of uni, you get offered a 5-figure a month paycheck, a 2-year contract, I would say that's an opportunity in the current climate of CSGO you should really jump on top of.
I mean, you can pause your studies.
Yeah, you can always go back to your studies. You don't have to just can it. You can at least explore that opportunity.
Yeah, I would say if the money is lucrative enough, university is not necessarily going anywhere.
Exactly.
Right. If you've got the qualifications to do that part of academia, then that's still going to be there, and that short-term money can. If you've got to pay for it or something, then it'll cover it. So again, you can just pause that.
Yeah.
Right. But you can't pause an industry.
That's why I wanted to be very careful with my response when interviewers asked me. I was like, I want to make it clear there's only the 0.1% of CSGO players that will be in that position where it's worthwhile to cancel your studies and go full time. Like if you've just gone into FPL, for example, I would not recommend you put your life on hold because it's a great.
I would.
It's a great platform, but it's not. It's not the golden ticket. You know?
Of course. But it depends. Like, there's no black and white answer because if you're studying medicine, for example, that might be like 4-6 years or something, depending on where you are in your life. So that's like you can't. There is no blanket answer to something like that.
I mean, yeah. There's always ways that you can sort of finagle the system whereby you can say the university, you know what, I'm going to do part-time study. That's an option as well. Okay, it's going to take 3 extra years because you're slowing down as the credits that you're getting per year. Or alternatively, you have this situation where maybe you can handle it. Carrigan famously got a master's whilst he was with TSM and they were winning all the tournaments.
Yeah, like the thing is with that though is like just the way esports, the trajectory we're on, like it's such a fast-paced adventure right now. Like that even 2 years ago is nothing like the landscape it is today. The money and the speed the industry's moving at, we're still in the very infancy of esports and CSGO really. It's very difficult to predict what's going to happen in the future. I always get asked as well, like, what's going to happen in the next 2 years of CSGO? Like I wouldn't be able to tell you. I have no idea. It's so crazy how far we've gone, even from 2015 to now, like how much investment and opportunities there are and how many world-class teams are available. It's definitely one of the fastest moving and exciting industries right now. And
also on that point, we still don't, it's still not really known how to monetize the industry correctly. So we have this weird aspect where does the money stop coming at some point? Are we going to have, there might be a year where all the investment just shrinks for a while. Then that might happen sooner or it may happen later on.
It's already happened. Like esports has been around for a long time, whichever way you want to look at it. But like the recession in 2008 when the CGS was just kicking off, as soon as that happened, no one wanted to invest in esports anymore. That was it. They was like, you know what, we're going to stop putting money into this.
Everything died.
Put it on ice. Yeah. Everything, like almost every game died for that 2-year period. It wasn't until 2011 when League of Legends started kicking off again, people started thinking, oh, this is pretty cool. This has got something to it. And we started rebuilding from that point. So
Twitch opens up.
I feel like with Twitch and everything and YouTube that's there now, I feel like we have a solid platform. We're not going to die out or anything. CSGO has a bit of a question mark around it. But luckily, no other game has really challenged us at all, really.
We're the best game,
market.
so that's the thing that we got going.
Definitely, but it's kind of interesting that everyone's so scared of the title, they don't want to go near it. Like Rainbow Six, it's a similar game in terms of team-based FPS, but it's very different mechanically. It's a much different skill set. We haven't seen any people transition from Rainbow Six to CSGO or vice versa because they're completely different games, right? They're not the same. I feel like there's a day where someone's surely going to make a game that rivals it.
Half relevant. Right? A friend of mine, who is actually sponsored by Mousesports, he was a Call of Duty player, and he transitioned from Call of Duty to Street Fighter, and he won Evo last year, which is pretty mental.
Dan, any thoughts on whether CSGO will ever be challenged in general? Do you feel like it's around to stay?
Well, that's the thing, right? So one of the interesting developments of the last 2 years, which no one could have predicted again, is Battle Royales and their success.
Yeah.
And what Battle Royales have done, much like Overwatch in some senses, obviously Overwatch is not a Battle Royale, but the market the outreach that it has is to Blizzard fans as a whole and people who are fans of that kind of lore and that kind of game design, is it creates this massive outreach to a market that perhaps contemporary esports otherwise would not have touched. And of course, it's not esports per se, but it is making people literate and understanding, more accepting socially and otherwise in creating new social norms to allow people to be like, oh, esports, that makes sense. I'll tune into that. When E-League decides to run a feature on TBS, whatever it might be, they might actually watch that now, and because they'll have more of a relation or connection to that idea. And so it does set the scene a little bit for people to want to make esports games and monetize them, because the game itself is the thing that people are monetizing very effectively. It's just the tournaments, the leagues, the teams, everything else around it, which is more difficult to monetize. And I mean, I'm having a really long conversation with Golden Boy about this, and how one of the reasons might be because the whole monetization is built around ad revenue, and that's might be just a terrible place to start. Maybe we need a different system. Maybe we need tournaments to be able to run like pay-per-view type systems and so on and so forth. So that's like another whole conversation in of itself.
I think that was answering a different question.
It's good though. Thoughts? This is an open forum, so. Just like
in terms of a competitor to Counter-Strike.
Yeah,
I think you'd have to literally copy the whole game. Like the premise of the economy and all that.
Let's say hypothetically, someone like a Ubisoft or an Activision, they wanted to make a Counter-Strike rival, right? They like a shameless imitation, but better. They're trying to build upon the model that's already been in place by CS and say, look, we've done this. It's not a game from 2011 that's been kind of updated. This is a fresh game that's got all the mechanics of CS, but in a new style.
Not happening, Henry.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not happening. Like, somebody won't make one, but I don't think it'll be successful, because I think that Counter-Strike is the gold standard, and I think that anything else, or most things, are a complement. Like if you look at Overwatch, when Overwatch is coming, like people are like, oh my god, what's going to happen, blah blah blah. But it's actually they took people from loads of different types of games into that game, and I think that game is a complement, because it gives you a foot into FPS for people who aren't really traditional FPS players.
Yes.
And then they can see the top of the mountain, which is Counter-Strike and the majors and so on. So I think all of this floods into Counter-Strike. These are all little lakes into our river of CSGO.
Definitely right. Overwatch like even attracted like Team Fortress players, League of Legends, Korean pros.
Plenty of every genre.
Yeah, like they all kind of found a place in it, because there's definitely roles within that game. You don't have to be a hardcore FPS fan. You need to be intelligent and know how it all works in composition, right? Yeah, you could be a healer or a support player who's just very good at understanding the maths of the game and how the timings work and all that sort of thing. So that's definitely something that
it kind of builds into the point which I was making, was that if you create like the culture and the social norms are more acceptable, everyone's going to be suddenly primed to be wanting to play these kinds of games. And this is an issue, because game developers coming along, they want to make a game that's successful and makes money, because otherwise what's the point? Like that's the entire point. And the problem that we have is that esports is hard to monetize still currently in its current form. Like it's kind of difficult to monetize esports. So you have to make a game that's going to have the numbers, but you've got to make a competitive esports title as well.
Got to make it a bit Disney.
So you got two completely opposing ideas as far as design is concerned, and that's the kind of the problem sometimes. How do you mesh these two things? How do you get the big numbers, really fun game that you're gonna have masses of people playing, and then convert on that in the esports? League of Legends, for example, has like 1%, or at least I haven't seen the numbers in a couple of years, but it used to be like 1% or less than of viewership conversion of the actual audience playing the game. So Counter-Strike was the only one that had high numbers there.
Just to give you guys an update, this is a lovely conversation. Good podcast.
Yes, an update, Henry. 204 days since we could draw on the map.
Perfect. That's what I wasn't going to say that, but that's good information as well. The game, they're just having a slight issue with the coach connecting. I think we're all good now, so that's why we are filling the knife just went live, so we're going to jump in the action. That was a great little chat, though. Sometimes nice to go off topic and kind of explore CSGO as a whole, and that's exactly what we did. It's nice to kind of get.
We should do a chat show segment sometimes.
Yeah, I feel like that's why I brought it in. We had the option to go to a break 34, and I was like, you know what, this is going well. We'll keep it going. It's fine. People might be enjoying this talking heads situation we've got going on here. So we've got some odds for you. The updated odds after the first map. This is brought to you by Pinnacle.com. And they have swung very heavily in the favor of Vitality. They were the favorites going into this, but after that dominant performance, it feels like Vitality might be able to 2-0 this.
There's so much juice in those odds. There's a juice button in the Pinnacle offices. It's time for the juice. Press the juice button. There's the juice right there. 4.25.
Yeah, that's
juice.
That's
James, you always say that whenever there's like odds, you're like, I'm going to bet on like someone should bet money there. It's like, well,
look, I'm seeing big numbers, baby. I've done my times tables, yeah.
I do think this is a matchup though where that is kind of juicy. I would
say, for
sure.
Trivia. There is a wrestler who wrestles in Japan, and his name is Juice Robinson.
Nice.
Did you get it?
Oh, I get it. Like Robinson's juice, is that what you're going with?
There you go. That's my boy.
Oh, wow.
Nice. Okay, perfect. So it all works out. Live in 10 seconds, boys. Anything else you want to say that's a little bit off the wall? Say it now before the game starts.
I said that was like quite. That was like
what do you mean say it now? I've got so much to say.
I know you're going to say it anywhere. It's more like you could vent it all now.
It's a tap.
Before we have to get into the action, which is right now. You had your chance, and we are on to Mirage. It is going to be Vitality on the T side. P250 once again for Apex, as Zaiwu, who looked so deadly on Overpass, will be holding towards the A ramp. This will be an A finish. They're swapping weapons around here. So who gets the P250 now? RPK has been given that, and he's alone, or not alone, actually. He's got players with him. He'll be at the back of the attack towards Palace, so he's going to send out human shields and hopefully pick players off with his armor P250 combo. Smokes and flashes going in now. Doesn't look that they're fully committing just yet. They're seeing there's any sort of reaction to the initial smoke. The flashbang will come over now, and it hasn't done too much to Robs, but he is not going to hit the initial headshot, but he does get the second. That's not bad at all, but he's low. Should be dropped here with no bullets left. He is desperately holding on for dear life. It goes down to the 4-4 and a plant for Vitality.
There's a nice frag, though, from Ross trying to control that. And now come the teammates. They don't have CT control Vitality. Apex is the closest man, and this is a problem. 4 CTs running through CT spawn there. Zaiwu able to make it happen with that Glock, but so many more. And he's the only man standing. Has to push the issue. The defuse is coming in. Can he win the next 1v1? They both come off the bomb, and Frozen nails it. Good attempt, though. It made it very scary, at least.
Yeah, you could see he put the fear of God in them there. I have to say, I didn't like Alex's post-plant positioning there. Like, it's such a poor angle. CT is going to come in with multiple numbers. He just didn't give himself a fighting chance at all there, really. As soon as he went down, kind of put his team out to try that position there. You've got no cover, no retreat, and really put Apex in a compromised position. So should have got more out of that, but still, bomb being planted, they can still bring out 3 AK-47s. You have to juggle the money around a little bit. You can see RPK and Alex left with not much at all, but this is still a scary round for Mousesports to try and fend off as they're up against those rifles. Smoke down towards the window area. Chris J can see nothing. Oh, he does a little bit of damage. I thought that was a dink almost, but it's just a chest shot to Apex.
3 AKs. It's a good start, and that's the information from Mousesports now. Not much you can do about it, though, when NBK gets a second headshot that quickly, and the A-bomb site is open for business. He'll hold the angles while Alex makes his way over towards that CT position, although the weapons to be collected are, I think, around that stairs area. NBK giving more weapons to his teammates. RPK now looking to plant the bomb. Inverse of default. Planted for everywhere, as I like to say. Very, very strong. When you've got to smoke down towards jungle and someone's in CT, plant on that side makes it very hard to defuse.
It's the case now. You can't just solo jump up on triple now, isn't it? They patched it or something. I heard someone talking. I was playing a mix, and someone was talking about that, and I actually had no idea.
No, you can still jump on
that. You can jump on there.
So they must be just telling lies.
Yeah, well, if your source is someone from a random game you were playing first, then maybe that wasn't the best
that's what I was asking you guys, like,
to bring to the table.
Was it like a slight alteration to the map name that I wasn't aware of?
They've done some small changes on this in the last few months. So they changed the T-steps, for example. It's just a ramp now because people couldn't get into the head. You just have to run at the boxes. They're always jumping.
I love the update text. Lowered the skill ceiling to enter B apps.
It's just like you couldn't get in people's head. It's like you can just run. And they just always would jump and make a mess of it.
It's like on train, going to connect from CT spawn, the spools. People can't jump on them properly.
Yeah, that's true.
I've got places to be, man. I can't take these delays.
Come on, boys.
And know how to play the spawns.
MBK, great job there. Lovely work with the AK-47. We're seeing a lot of these second rounds converted on the T side once the bomb's planted. So definitely worthwhile doing. You don't see it so much in your online games with your mates because no one wants to be the one to be with the Deagle, no armor, and drop the AK. But in this level, very powerful strategy to deploy with your star players. So good job. As Mousesports will try to answer back with a force buy of their own. Scouts, MP7s. That's a bit of a Chris J special weapon, that one. But it's going to be Carrigan with it in his hands. And he's going to have to fight valiantly towards that B side of the map. Pretty much there with him, alone. As Vitality go for their defaults here, trying to get that infamous mid-control.
Smoke towards top of connector. See many people and pugs on the T side throw it at the bottom of connector. That doesn't help you. You can't take connector if you smoke yourself off. The top side is where you want to put it. Can get flashed in by a teammate. Clear it out. That's a nice shot by Zaiwu. They've seen the bomb, Mousesports, but how much time do they have to react? Alex standing in the flames. Not quite Khaleesi though, is he? Apex, sorry. Last man standing in that connector position. The bomb's been lost, but he has enough time to do something. The spray will put Rops down to 5 HP. He's waiting for a peek, but Frozen's creeping up that short position. So he's got to be careful. Rops not peeking, wasting the time of Apex. But Apex is giving no sounds, and Mousesports may wonder. You can see that Woxic is in the window of his CZ75. There's a pop flash play. There's Woxic. They have an idea that he's making his way towards a short position, but he will have to give up on this one. And there are some weapons now to be collected by Mousesports.
Yeah, good job by them, especially Frozen. I feel like there was some overcommitment from Vitality. They get that lovely pick towards short, and then the decision to run through the flames and try and push yet another kill, I think, was the incorrect one. If you have those advantages and you know there's a lack of almost everything on the Mousesports side in terms of utility, defuse kits, firepower especially, you do not need that frag. You can just take the advantage. No one has to run around the corner and battle in a Molotov. It's just not required. That was a bit of a misplay, in my opinion. But there we go. It will be Mousesports picking the round up. Great job by them, Frozen especially, capitalizing upon the mistakes made. And that will be 2-1, and a force buy in response. It's actually an AWP on the T side. That's pretty wild. So Zai will use that with armor. And again, RPK, he's been so selfless this game. Fair play to him. He understands he's no longer the star of this squad. He has to let the young lad shine. He will be left with the P250 armor again. He had Deagle no armor before. And we'll see what he can make of it.
It's got a very good P250 as well. P250 is actually kind of nuts, honestly. Also,
yeah.
It looks very unassuming, again, but it is so dangerous.
That's the expression, pound for pound. It's probably like the best pistol. Right?
Oh,
the fact it's $300 compared to anything else, that's the main factor, but that's a nice shot from Zaiwu. So 4-4. Still a lot of work to do here, but Zaiwu has at least taken down a Voxic. Huge scalp to take. Rops playing in an open position. He'll be punished for it. MBK with laser precision on his AK so far, and they've got plenty of time with 1:10 on the clock.
MBK looking sharp from Palace. He's caused Mousesports a lot of problems early on this A site. That might compromise where they would like to stand. Alex, in the meantime, has cleared the B bomb site, but the bomb, all his players are so far away. Rather than have them rotate to A, I think it's better that he flanks towards, rotate to B. It's better that he flanks towards A instead.
It's a very telegraph move there. They'll be aware that there's been enough time. Exactly that. Like, the fact they've left B open for so long, like, I don't think that play was going to work out, but he survived it at least, and he can smoke connectors, so he's still part of the round, making things uncomfortable, so still doing his job. He gets a frag, and Carrigan will deny the plant. Still time here, but numbers starting to drop as Frozen goes absolutely wild there from CT Spawn, leaving Alex in a very difficult situation. It was looking so good for Vitality, and that play sometimes can be a little bit too well read. The fact it took so long for Alex to get around, only at the MAC-10. They found him and took him down and isolated from the situation with the smoke as well. So, nice idea. Might have been actually worth just going back to B in that instance, though, because he confirmed the site was clear. 3 players that towards A, sure, would have taken some time to transition, but he could have just controlled kitchen with the MAC-10. And this is all in hindsight, of course. This is me knowing everything and saying what should have happened. This is just an ideal world. I'm saying, like, if you find an open bomb site, maybe take it if you've got the time.
I made a good analogy on my stream today about like when you're, because when you're playing and something happens and you're like, was that a good decision or not? So a lot of people will just use hindsight and be like, oh well, this is what happened. Therefore,
that's why I wanted to the precursor to make sure it's clear.
So I was saying that, like, the analogy would be that when you're playing poker, and you make a play, and so, you know, whatever happens, there's a conclusion, you either win or lose, but you actually get to, the guy doesn't muck his hand, he shows his cards.
Sure.
Then you actually like, oh, okay, so this is what you're playing with. So that all that tells you is that that was a possibility, but you can never make your decision based on the conclusion after the fact. So you have to like figure out a better decision-making process to analyze that situation. And I feel like poker is just the best. It's just the most analogous to making decisions in a game like Counter-Strike, where you don't have perfect information and you have to take risks all the time.
Well, Mousesports have taken a few of those, and they find themselves in a very advantageous spot here, Mirage. Finally, they're the ones winning out in the important moments, the clutch rounds, and they still can't break the money of Vitality. They seem to have guns almost every single round. They had CZ previously, but now fully equipped once again. 3 rounds in a row for Mousesports as Chris J looks to do some damage at the start, trying to do anything he can before the smoke blooms, get a bit of intel. He throws the HE in. It's not going to do a ton of damage, but Voxic certainly will. That's the AWP towards the underpass. You don't see that too often. Does he get out of there alive? Alex may not, as he's creeping through the smoke towards Connector, and that's going to cost him his life. Very simple procedure from Mousesports here after losing the first player, Vitality, trying to throw a spanner in the works, and they are getting wrecked across the board. It's going to be MBK with the only frag and the only player alive in this 4 versus 1. Mousesports, as expected, looking much better on Mirage.
Yeah, this is beautiful right now. We're seeing them find ways to take the initiative on the CT side. We see Voxic in the underpass. We just see pressure all over the place. They're moving around. They look much more free when it comes to how, you know, the ability to take fights in open terrain and use that skill that they have. And with so many players unleashed on the Mousesports sides, that's when things start to get kind of dangerous here. I wonder if we'll see a set piece coming in from Vitality, like a default into a set piece, just to see if they can sort of just change the pace a little bit, add a new dynamic to the matchup. Because right now, Mousesports are getting all these like cheeky 1v1s and solo plays.
I agree. I don't think there's enough there for a Vitality forced by. They're going to just take the partial here as a loss bonus is knocking on the door of maximum going into the next round. So Deagles, no utility though, so I don't think we'll see too many fireworks this round. Good chance for Mousesports though to really solidify their economy. That incendiary's thrown to block the smoke and give a one-way for Voxic. A little bit annoying if nothing comes in, but still you have full vision, so it's not like it's a complete waste. You're kind of just hoping it works out for you. You still got to get a couple of kills here, not quite. That's a great Deagle shot from Zywoo.
Ooh, Deagle's running in the damage.
NBK from Palace again. Trying to combine the numbers, but it seems that Mousesports will be able to hold on. 6-1! Taste of Vitality's medicine now. The spoon is in the other hand.
It's really cool what Robs did there. Like, he knew that players were coming up connector, so he fired only a couple bullets into Palace, knowing that they would think, oh, I can pounce on triple now because Robs is engaging there. But then he like turns around and it's just a bait to bait them into the open. All these tiny details there of like what awareness good game sense can do for you.
Well, that's why Counter-Strike is such a brilliant game. Easy to watch and understand and even play, but mastering it and understanding all those tiny details is what makes a fantastic player. It can just be the smallest of differences that give you the edge and maybe a kill and will win you around. Either way, it's 6-1. Mousesports looking very comfortable here. And you're right, they've displayed a nice active game. They're being dynamic. They're moving around the map, and Voxic is finding opening kills for them. And Vitality starting to drop off here. They're on the T side of Mirage, so still not in the danger zone perhaps just yet. They can still win the half as they get the mid-control comfortably this time. No CT presence towards underpass or window. Alex gets himself in the connector. He's got 3 kills to his name so far. Carrigan holding towards the short position of B. He used to be the B anchor in FaZe, and it was a little bit problematic at times. He would be heavily focused on that side of the map, but it's going to be Voxic backing him up with the AWP for now. And very slow progress, but Alex will be dropped. First player to go down.
Carrigan in that short position continues to be an issue. Taking some decisive decisions, like through the smoke on stairs to stop the bomb plant earlier on. Helped Mousesports get to this strong situation. 7 for 2, Carrigan. 11 for 2, Frozen. Great successes for Mousesports so far. You can see RPK edging towards the B bomb site, trying to find an opening with this AK-47. So many angles to be aware of, though, and Voxic will just walk out and take him out. Apex is now the last man standing. So there is damage to be done for Vitality in these rounds. That wasn't enough. That allows Mousesports to build some more cash. Vitality can buy once more. Let's look at the stats. Apex is 1 for 6. RPK is 1 for 7. But let's bear in mind he's had a P250 a few times. Alex 3 for 7. There isn't a lot going on. NBK really has been the star of the show from Palace, which is one of the more difficult places to get so many frags from.
It's usually the star players will be working Palace. If you look at FaZe, for example, Nico, everyone knows he goes there. Exactly. And it's just such a powerful position. If you can understand the game well and use the communication your teammates are giving you to time your picks efficiently, you can cause great damage with the AK-47. It takes amazing aim to play that spot. Players like Nico, Simple, MBK is obviously doing a great job as well. It's a high impact role, and if you can do it well, it's fantastic. But they only have the 1 round to their name, even with him getting those big picks. So they will buy up into the round after using a timeout. Mousesports 7, Vitality 1, RPK on the Galil. And James, you're right. He has been very selfless this game. It's not like he's been playing bad. As the smokes go through, we'll boost up in towards CPL, and Frozen will control short. It's a little bit of an awkward situation, but they get up there in the end.
The setup's interesting for Mousesports because they're playing really, really passively on A, and this round for Vitality, they have connected control immediately. So they've found, just by chance, a really open position at a very fast timing. That's beautiful for Vitality, but what can they work from it? You can see that already the CTs are pretty much locked off here on CT spawn, so they have to play retake, but it's at the start of the round, so they have full utility to play retake. So that actually is very favorable for the CTs typically.
More grenades streaming in towards that CT position, trying to delay. Now, we've got Apex, who seems to be going towards the window, or maybe I think he's in... Oh, he's in the underpass. Okay, misreading the map. There is a player moving in. That's Carrigan. So Alex is going to get taken out. He spotted his gun, but there's a flank on the flank, so that should be fine. Vitality on the site don't need to aggress too much. Apex could say they're not on the bomb just yet. They don't need to peek. 3 players there. No one touching the bomb. They're just standing there waiting to be slayed by the admin, and this time the admin's Apex. Vitality moving away. Mousesports moving away. Round number 2 for Vitality. A long time coming, I think.
Was that a reference to public servers in CS?
Absolutely.
I thought it was. Nice work. That's good.
I used to run a gun game server.
Yeah.
And if anybody camped, I would slap them to the
Slapping
ceiling.
Was good.
And then let them just land and die, just crater with 2 HP.
Oh, you sound like a cruel creator, James.
I had the best gun game server in Source. That's all I did in Source.
Why don't you bring it back?
Orange Box gun game. My friend's dad had some kind of like server, something. He gave him a free server, and then he let me admin it. So,
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was some great servers in Source. The zombie mods, everything. There was so much good stuff we lost. Anyway, into what could be not so much a reset for Vitality, but definitely not an ideal situation. This one falls apart. To mention Carrigan, that B anchor, sometimes recognizes a bit of a weakness for his teams on this side of the map. He needs a lot of backup, as it will be Frozen to rotate in this time, so detecting the threats. He'll be holding towards the bench, and Carrigan holding towards window. Lots of damage done with that utility, but ZywOo still finds the important headshot. Carrigan goes down, but Frozen's holding extremely well. 3 versus 2, double orbs on the retake here. No bomb planted, and Chris J very confidently finds the all-important kill, and the final one as well. That's very strong from Mousesports.
I gotta say, the Vitality smokes are awesome because they throw their smokes a lot at the beginnings of the round, and it smokes off window, connector, and catwalk, and then they go straight to B, which is awesome because they're making it really look like they're doing a mid-heavy default. However, Mousesports pushed 2 players in mid pretty quickly through the smokes and saw that there was no one there. So they were already kind of priming themselves to understand there's a rush somewhere. They didn't know if it was A or B just yet, but they knew that a rush would be happening on one of the bomb sites. So good work from Mousesports to be proactive. But the idea from Vitality is awesome because their timing was really good with it. Mousesports just had a good response.
Well, Vitality will have to respond even stronger here, Dan, because this is the full A execution. He speculated as to whether this would be deployed early on, considering things are getting rough for them. They've got the Molotovs lined up as well. The smokes are going in, the flashbangs too. You see that Molotov lands right on the bomb side there to make it uncomfortable. That's what executions are all about, is taking CTs out of the spots they want to play. Robs will have to adapt, and he's doing an incredible job so far. Lovely headshot with the AK-47. They're going toe-to-toe, 2 of the most talented players in the game right now. ZywOo and Robs exchange blows as the double orbs arrive on the scene.
Fired off Molotov would have killed that plant. 2 versus 3 for Vitality as they wait for the approaching Mousesports players coming in from the connector and jungle position. They've abandoned CT because that's where presence was shown. That might give them an extra man as Vitality might look in that direction. RPK coming out of the shadow position. Scorched Earth for him. Apex 1 versus 2. And he will not do it on this occasion. Vitality, it's their turn to struggle on the T side.
Oh, yes.
Mousesports looking strong on Mirage. And we expected him to look strong. I don't think 9-2 is a scoreline we could foresee, but this is looking great for them.
Chris J, Voxic, like, I thought Oscar and Chris J was scary, but Voxic, like, how aggressive he is and how efficient he is at hitting shots that really count, you can see why they're doing so well here on Mirage. They look a lot more comfortable and showing us why this team has got so much attention as of late with the lineup being announced. It's looking very good. The Carrigan system, with so much talent around it and so many hype players that haven't necessarily been given the chance they really need, is quite tantalizing, I have to say, as they go for an aggressive mid-push. This is what Voxic's good at, and he doesn't nail that one. The jump will elude him, and ZywOo gets one, but that's all he'll find. Chris J answers back very quickly. Get back to a 4-4. And like I said, Mousesports with a 9-2 lead here. Vitality is staying alive with the loss bonus here. The new economy system is allowing them to buy a lot of these rounds, but not really making a dent in the last few as Chris J misses a shot for once.
Dangerous position that Apex has found around connected. It's so awesome because you can either help an A push or you can just lurk if your team go towards B. It's fantastic for information. If your teammates are fighting on A, you can try to like lurk out and catch the player around jungle, choke off that area. It's a very, very strong spot to have someone in connector, and as such, he becomes someone that is pivotal in the success for this push, as Vitality must make their way into the bomb site. But you can see there is a man on CT, there's Rops. He has been Molotoved backwards, but there's no smoke there just yet. MBK has the solitary smoke. And there's no cover towards Catwalk. They are exposed from every single position. Carrigan does more damage, and they walk straight into his line of fire, and that's got to be the round. Apex in a 1 versus 4. He's been hit by an AWP. He is surely not long for this world.
I think you might be right there. He has been left as the last player in a few instances now, and this one is no different. Mousesports continue their domination. Remember, Dust 2 next. Dan, you predicted a 2-1 scoreline for Mousesports. You might be right on the money with that one because Overpass made sense. They couldn't win that.
Yeah.
After seeing Mirage, I'm convinced they can replicate these sort of scenes on Dust 2 because that map plays very similar to Mirage, actually. It's actually very similar in terms of the way it's laid out, the pace you can dictate, and the lack of real technical strategy on it actually sets us up very nicely for a Mousesports victory here, perhaps.
Yeah, it's looking that way. But perhaps Vitality can have an equally strong CT side. We do know that Mousesports' T sides are fairly weak at this point, in comparison, relatively speaking, to their CT sides. And was that Voxic creating a gap with the Molotov?
Nice. Exactly.
Pays off for him finally.
Chris J fast enough to pick off RPK, going past the window position. NBK, Apex, and ZywOo remain. Not sure if the bomb has been spotted, but Mousesports have reasonable position. Frozen moving up top mid. He can hold the entrance to B-Apps if he wants to. ZywOo taking it on the site, but the bomb is still with Vitality. They can hit NBK. Maybe they can hit both of them now. It's a nice 1 dig from NBK. Again, he continues to perform despite the score. Looking for another one. Doesn't really have a chance to plant the bomb just yet. It's fallen now. There's a whole minute for Apex, but only 1 second required for Chris J to take him out as well. 3K for Chris J. All is okay.
Well, the good news is Mousesports CT sides, we've seen a lot of this, lots of huge score lines, but this one might be so large that they won't even have to worry about the T side, Dan. They won't have to even break a sweat, really.
That's the strategy, isn't it?
Yeah, just let's try and 15-0 the CT side, and then we should be fine.
We'll be right.
So they might be able to 13-2 this for looks of things, and then that's pretty much a foregone conclusion. Double orb set up once again. Chris J, 14 kills. Carrigan actually looks very good since the Org came out. I guess I didn't mention that before. Like, he actually individually looked much better with the Org meta we're currently in CSGO. His individual level's certainly gone up. So it's more classic CS. You're holding angles. You're using your knowledge of the game, and you're not being necessarily out-skilled, out-reacted by the peak advantage of the AK-47. You can actually hold a decent angle now and play it like a traditional CS angle, I suppose.
This is quite interesting because Voxic, he did the Molotov on the smoke again, but Vitality understand that he's been doing that, so they delay their mid-take, Woxic actually, I think, calls to the team, okay, there's nothing top mid, they're doing it again, they're probably going to go B. They rotate the CTs into B. Woxic goes market. Now they've got no mid presence. Late B play comes in anyway. So it actually kind of works out here. Ooh. As the defense looks fairly solid. Frozen catching the last player with any points of health remaining. And it looked like Vitality had outsmarted Mousesports. Yeah. It really did. But I think in going to B, perhaps that was the mistake overall.
They keep just boosting that B defense like every few rounds or so, and every time they do it, it seems to work out perfectly. Voxic feeling like, yeah, well, that mid smoke is not allowing me to get a massive amount of frags. They're trying to get up short consistently, and he gets towards the bench. He only gets 1 kill, but Carrigan's presence in towards the apartments. As soon as he strikes, gets the first and a second, dings the third, takes MBK down to 1 HP, I believe. So they've done a great job. This is looking likely for a 13-2 now. Vitality and maximum loss betters once again. After such a rough game for them, this is surprising that they couldn't really get going at all on their T side. Like we said, they're a more established team. They've been to plenty of tournaments now. Got one of the brightest prospects in CSGO on their team in the form of Zywoo. But it's not working out for them. Carrigan needs to get out of those flames quite quickly. Doesn't take too much damage, I suppose, but
it's a fake.
He'll get out.
See a third man rotating. Despite the lack of sound cues, Woxic makes his way over towards CT. Double AWP will be very interesting. Chris J's got great cover from his teammate near Palace. That won't last very long though, because NBK again causing problems. 2K from him, opening up the site, allowing the bomb to get planted.
There we go then. Will this last round go in favor of the French? 3 versus 2. Great positioning. That's a guaranteed kill. I think they've done it, unless Frozen. There's something unbelievable with the smoke and flashbang combo here, but they know exactly where he is. MBK's got a Molotov for the bomb as well, so this shouldn't be an issue. I think he'll be deploying that in a second. There it is. Molotov goes down. Frozen was ready for it, hoping to bait out MBK. Nice idea, but just way too much on his plate. Can't deal with this one. So, Vitality with the 3 rounds. It doesn't sound that appealing, but it will be enough to at least have a conversation about a comeback here. Remember, we said the T sides of Mousesports have been weak. If they win the pistol, the French might be able to do it. We don't know for sure, but you're going to have to find out after this break.
Maybe we've been taking this the wrong way. Maybe we've been worried about the wrong thing. Maybe we should listen when the song sang. Side to side, 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 side to side. The revolution's on the floor, not televised. 'Cause when your body's in my hands, it never lies. Come get yourself some satisfaction.
Well, a role reversal here. After getting absolutely demolished on Overpass, Mousesports find themselves 12-3 up at half as they switch over to the T side here. Win the pistol, that should be it. But
Mike's on James.
Got to do that first.
I sincerely apologize.
May I cast? RPK will be opening things up, but here comes Mousesports here. Alex still alive and kicking. They don't seem to know where he is at all. As we get into the 2 versus 2, it's a little bit scrappy. The bomb goes down, and Carrigan brings it back to MBK, as he's been playing so well. I feel like he's going to win the round, but somehow, some way, Carrigan makes it work. He has looked pretty strong this game down. He's looked fantastic.
Yeah, and again, we can re-emphasize the pressure on Mousesports to win the T-pistol. They just need the easiest start on the T sides. The T sides have been kind of terrible. I think if Vitality go back and look at the demo, I think they would have found some strategical choices that would have actually allowed them to pick up some rounds. And I could go into that more later if we have some dead time. But yeah, Mousesports might just close this out very quickly now.
Which would be good news, considering that their T sides, like we said, questionable. So, and understandably so. Like, that's the hardest part of any team to bring together, is your coordination on this T side. But they've got the opening pick here. It's a force buy from the French. A desperate one now in a 5 versus 4. So MBK has gone down, the linchpin of the French side so far. So he is at 15-15. Just to note, Rops, who had some crazy moments. He had one round, we got, I think, 3 kills on the T side, sits at 5 and 7. So Carrigan really has been doing remarkable work. And
he was the cat player supporting Frozen. Frozen was anchoring the hell out of the B bomb site. Frozen was pretty untouchable as well, always doing massive damage. And Rops, typically the default, plays default on A, anchors the A bomb site. Either way, in comes the push onto the B bomb site. RPK is close with the P250. That doesn't do too much. Long range UMP, not ideal. Scout trying to get a look in, but it's Apex with that Deagle. Now just Zaiwu in from the back. 3 kills to make. He's got a Deagle coming in from Apps. He might get the element of surprise here. This is doable, but the timing is unfavorable. And Mousesports convert against the force buy. And Vitality do not have much in the way of legs to stand on.
They have to force buy again, really. You can't let it go 15-3. You're not going to bring that back. So you might as well just buy. Yeah, they have to.
There we go.
So that is the call, and it's out of necessity more than anything. It's not like it's a strategic approach. They just have to, and hope they can win this round somehow and start the comeback then.
Carrigan used to get a lot of important frags for FaZe Clan as well. I think towards the end he got partly a bad rap, like not winning as much as they should. IGL must be bad. Sometimes merely a changes in order. The same could be said for like MSL North, for example. That is a Zaiwu taken out. Mousesports scrambling all over the A bomb site. Flashbang through the choke point, but Woxic's got the spray. There are 3 other players here, the 3 remaining players for Vitality. Inverse plant on default. Re-smokes of the connected jungle position. MBK spotted up top. He's been dangerous so far. The scout, though, we're asking a lot of him. No one has been taken out. Okay, Rop's the first man now for Mousesports. Carrigan soon to follow. NBK seems to be invincible with this scout. And only Chris J and Frozen remain.
A chance now. Frozen has been laid some foundations by his teammates, and it looks like he might convert them. That's really nice work. I can see some of the reasons why people like this guy. That's really nice play. Snappy aim as well, aggressive, confident play, and he knew exactly what he had to do to win the round. I really enjoyed that from him, so great job. And that was pretty much the last chance there for Vitality. Did what they could. The Deagles are strong, but Frozen much stronger, I'm afraid. Look at that last kill. I love it. He goes 15-3. Oh, this is a bit of BM from Carrigan. He's just like, you know what, boys? This is a classic for Carrigan. In the TSM days, I think it was a semi-final of one of the majors. He was against Fnatic, and they were up like 15-2 or something like that, and he called the timeout, and it was quite controversial one. It really got under the skin of Fnatic, I believe. So I don't think he is doing that. I'm just saying it's a weird time to call the timeout. Yeah.
The funny thing about Mousesports too is that if you talk about Carrigan and his performances individually, the last portion of him being on FaZe, there was like this thing where everyone knew that he was going to leave. I don't think it happened in the best way. Yeah. So I think that he started to get quite emotionally, just didn't feel good playing on that team anymore for quite some time, which affected his performances. Rops and Chris J absolutely burnt out on that last Mousesports lineup. Everyone's coming in fresh and positive with this new lineup. That is a big difference. It's going to amount to a lot of new confidence and solid work ethic. And they're going to go for that balcony burst. MBK, nice headshot. Frit the Scout follows it up with the second one. He's been watching some Henny demos, that's for sure. 3 Scout headshots. Woxic and Carrigan to try to save this. Can MBK do it again? He's going for it! 4 Scout headshots!
You'd love to see it. That's what they needed a lot earlier, to be honest. Right now, it's just padding the stats and getting them back in the game for a little bit. It's should be Mousesports closing this one out, but it's always worth fighting back. Take each round as it comes. MBK, at one point, was probably considered the best scout user in the entire game, up there with Chris J, actually. Kind of funny they're both from the server. But that was way back in the day, when the era we're talking about with the jump scout potential. He kind of showed us how broken that was. MBK did. It was in his prime, I would say, when he was doing those sort of things. But 4 spine response, Deagles and a Krieg.
Not bad. Early damage. Oh dear. That was considerably slow, actually. People, if you're running towards the boxes to jump up on the van, the timing, you can get shot by a T player. One way to avoid it is a quick boost from a teammate in that position, but that was quite a slow one. Quite a slow one.
The cool thing here as well is that they haven't committed to the B side at all, but look at the response they've got for the CTs. Completely, look at that space in the middle of the mini-map, you know, where the CTs are like, okay, 2 on B, 2 on A, we don't know what's going on right now. Mousesports have well over a minute to play with. They've got a Krieg. Now, the cool thing about the Krieg is it's really strong to kind of contact into the A bomb site, because with the scope, it kind of matches up pretty well against anyone playing Ticket or those like long-range positions. So you probably want Woxic to perhaps lead the charge here to get that opening kill against the Ticket player. It's very likely someone's playing Ticket in this situation. Look at the setup on the CTs, very passive. You give up the A bomb site very often, so they could predict that the guy's playing Ticket right now. There it is. That's exactly, that's how it's supposed to go.
Well, there it is. Dan painted the picture, and it's Zyro to another plant. They could have just waited for that smoke to go down and had a really clean plant there, but now it's going to be a bit more complicated. The bomb will be planted, but it's equal situation for now, and the firepower certainly in favor of Vitality.
They'd love a flashbang Mousesports to push one of these positions, but they do not have such a luxury. Woxic with a scope, but not an AWP. The grenade starts to stream in, but there he is with that scope, causing problems. Where are the other 2 players? That's the question to be asked. Frozen with a headshot. Now there are serious problems. There's the trade. There's the map. 16-4 for Mousesports. A dominant game of Mirage from them. We move to Dust 2.
What a response from losing to the 4 Scout headshots in a row. They show that they can do something similar with a scoped gun. 1 Krieg, that made all the difference.
Yeah, scary stuff there from Mousesports. A sobering moment, perhaps, of Vitality after looking so strong on Overpass. They know what's coming up next as well. Remember, it's Dust 2, which, if you had to really choose a group of players to dominate that map, I think this group of 5 would be up there, to be honest.
That's why those odds were juicy, Henry. You see, the juice button was pressed. It's time to get your sugar, baby.
Yeah. Absolutely agree. That's so cool. Remember, Carrigan, he was infamous for leading one of the greatest Dust 2 teams of all time historically. TSM in their prime, they were Dust 2 masters. He orchestrated that. And then you got Woxic, considered the best AWPer on Dust 2, and you've just absolutely battered them. 4 on Mirage there. This is not looking good for Vitality. It's all pointing towards Mousesports right now, but that's all a bit trivial. That's just the excitement. That's the hype. Vitality can still play the map. I feel like it'll be a great game. I think this is not going to be a one-sided affair. I feel like it'll go right down to the wire on Dust 2, and we'll have a fantastic game. Hopefully, you guys feel the same. You kind of all
absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm for it. It's the best 3rd map we could ask for.
Amazing. Oh, I think that says it all. You guys do not want to miss it. We're going to take a quick break and be back with what could be the best Counter-Strike map of all time ever played right after this. Do not miss it.